So it's another one of these adventures where just picked a place, just picked a spot on the map, picked a little bit of a walk, and we're off. So I've parked up in a town called Clafton, which is just a little bit north of the city of Lancaster, and we're going to hike up through some sort of forested, wooded areas, and then eventually we're going to come up to some moorlands and hopefully get some nice vistas over the Lancashire countryside and perhaps back towards Morecambe Bay as well. So it should be a cracking little photography adventure. Today I want to talk a little bit about, I suppose, like how we shouldn't be so overly influenced by what other people photograph, I suppose, what other people's styles are even, but probably more importantly, kind of not to be so influenced by what other people are inspired by, which sounds a bit weird because we all get inspired by other people and, you know, what other people's passions are, things like that. But yeah, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense when we get into the video. Oh, this is nice. I've chosen another bit of a drab day, but deliberately, and that kind of ties in everything with everything that I want to talk about in today's video. Right, cracker. On that note, let's crack on. Oh, so the winds have picked up now and the rain is coming down. What a treat. Right, I've got an idea for a shot just over my left shoulder here. I'm going to use a telephoto lens, which I haven't used in months, so I'm really excited for that, and I think it's going to be quite nice. Now, before we get into this image, which I'll talk you through in a minute, I just wanted to stop and briefly talk about the topic in this video, really, I suppose. And really all it is I wouldn't put myself down as the most experienced landscape photographer in the world, but I feel like I've gone through that kind of beginner enthusiast phase, and sorry if it's a bit windy, guys, and I always feel like I've got quite a lot of value to give to sort of beginners out there that have only just picked up a camera and they're trying to find the way in the world of landscape photography. And yeah, today I really want to talk about developing your own style, I suppose, but more specifically like finding your own inspiration. And what I don't mean is like, you know, stop reading magazines, stop watching YouTube videos. You still need to watch my videos, but no, I mean like really find out what makes you tick and go out and chase it, whether it's certain weather conditions, certain locations, certain styles or types of photography, even things like really specific, like do you only enjoy using a telephoto lens for shots, do you not really like the wide angle thing? It could be absolutely anything. And really try and remember that a lot of things in landscape photography are very kind of what would you say, like quite cliche and traditional and kind of accepted by the masses. The best example I can think of, right, is sunrises and sunsets and the golden hour, that sort of thing. Now for me, I'll use myself as an example. When I first started out, it's all I ever shot, sunrise or sunset. You'd never see me out in the middle of the day. And I'm really glad that I did all of that, and I still love a sunrise and sunset. Golden hour, you know, for me a sunrise first thing in the morning with a bit of mist is still the best time to be out with your camera. But and I'll continue to chase sunrises and sunsets. But what I've really learned about myself, and that's what this is about, is that I absolutely love these moody, you know, drab conditions, miserable conditions. I absolutely adore it, and I love the photography that I get out of it. I'm going to put an image up on the screen from my last video. If you've seen that video, you recognise this instantly. So I took 3 or 4 really nice sunset photographs on this particular shoot, but this was the one that stood out, and it just made me want to make this video, because it made me realise that's what I love, you know. And I say these 3 places all the time: the Lake District, Scotland and Snowdonia in North Wales. They are my passions, and this is why I wait to go to Ireland, because I think it's going to be exactly the same, you know. Raining, windy like it is now, you probably can't even hear me. But this is what inspires me, this is what inspires my photography, and yeah, that's what I really wanted to get across, you know, take inspiration from other people and from magazines and books and, you know, television and YouTube, all that sort of thing. But really, ultimately, the goal is to find out what makes you tick. And this is just what does it for me. This isn't rare. Loads of people love these conditions as landscape photographers. But regardless, it's still what gets me out of bed. You know, it gets me outdoors with my camera. And I'm very lucky to be able to do this full time. So I'm going to take a shot in these very conditions right now. Like I said, with the telephoto lens, I think it's going to be pretty decent. Alright, so we are ready to take the first photograph of the day. I'm just going to zoom in over this dry stone wall because that's kind of the shot I'm going for. You can see a few sheep down there, and then just some really nice vistas looking back over the Lancashire countryside. And yeah, the sky's fairly textured. You can probably see there. It's definitely something we can work with in post-production. And just really, it's kind of encapsulating this kind of moody and wet and wild feeling. Like I was saying before, this is what I really love. The conditions, you know, it is really windy and the rain's coming down, but it's I said this in my last video, you don't really get these really nice dramatic skies without these weather conditions, so it's something that I've learned to embrace, you know. So like I said, I'm using my telephoto lens for the first time in ages. I'm going to shoot this in a portrait orientation, and I'm going to open up my aperture, which is something else that I've been doing a fair bit recently. And I'm deliberately blurring the dry stone wall down here in the foreground, shooting at f4.5, and I'm going to focus on some of those sheep down there using the back button focus. There we go. So that's kind of sorted, and then I've just got a nice little chunk of the sky in here at the top third of the photograph. ISO 100, and I'll just double check my shutter speed. I thought that was a bit too fast. 1/200th of a second, which is a nice fast shutter speed. We're shooting at just over 70mm, so I don't want it to be too slow, or else the image could end up blurry shooting handheld, you know. It's just a case of creating some nice shapes with that stone wall in the foreground. Check my histogram. Bob on. Absolutely bob on. So yeah, nice decent one to start the day. Definitely gets across that feel of the landscape for sure. And I'm going to carry on sort of up in this direction into the rain. The clouds look a bit more drab up there as well, and see what else we can find. Oh, we've made it up to the moorland. I can't turn around us. Just going to get blasted by wind and rain. I have to retreat. I'm left with no choice. The skies are beautiful, the views are gorgeous, but the winds are disgraceful. It's no good, guys. And you know me, I'll get the camera out in any old conditions, but this is too much. Right, I'm heading back down. Who knows if we're going to even grab any more photographs. Safety first. That was not good, guys. That was pretty dodgy actually up on that moorland. You know, the sort of wind where to walk against it, you're like sort of leaning your whole upper body forward. It was one of them, but yeah, I've come a bit further down now, and it's a bit of a shame because the vistas were really nice and the clouds were nice as well, as you've probably seen, but it was too treacherous. Anyway, on my way up to the moorland, I came past this sort of waterfall that was amongst some trees down in this gorge, and I thought, oh, maybe check that out on the way back down, and that's what I'm doing. It's been pretty dodgy. I don't know what's going on today, but I've had to sort of walk up this stream here just to get to it. But I kind of like that, you know. It's not particularly accessible, and it's probably never really been photographed, has it? Well, it probably has, but I'm going to give it a shot, especially because I couldn't grab anything up there. Yeah, well, I'm probably another, I don't even know, a couple of 100 metres. And we'll see if it's worth getting the camera out for. So I'm actually going to grab one more photograph. Look, the waterfall, it didn't work out, guys, to be honest. It feels like the universe doesn't want me out taking photographs today. But I'm going to grab one more, because I'm stubborn. There was too much foliage. I got agonisingly close, and it was just an absolute jungle and just way too dodgy. I don't mind dodgy, but I don't like too dodgy. You know what, I don't really mind these sorts of videos when it's I wouldn't go as far as saying a failure, but you know what I mean, a failure. Because landscape photography isn't all rainbows and sunsets. See what I did there? You know, and honestly it really isn't. So I quite like that you see this, especially beginners. These are normal to have these sorts of days. Just embrace them. You can look forward to the next adventure. That's certainly what I'll be doing. Now, I've set the camera up here deliberately, hopefully so that you can see pretty much what I'm going for. We've got this nice bend in this country lane. It's proper Lancashire, and some nice hills looking back towards Yorkshire. That was a horrible sentence. So Yorkshire does feature off in the background somewhere, I think. And that's where we're getting all the nice clouds and the beautiful skies. It's a nice merge of Lancashire and Yorkshire. You don't hear that often, do you? But it's pretty nice. So I've took the shot already, 16 to 35 at 16mm, and yeah, it's just about capturing this little sweep of the road you could see here. I have bracketed. I've just taken 2 shots because although it's dull, the sky is quite bright. I mean, look here. These feature on the left-hand side of the frame, these trees, and it's very dark and shadowy. So I really don't want to blow out those highlights. I want to make sure I retain some detail in them trees. But yeah, it's going to be alright. It's going to be quite nice. I'll leave you with this shot, and I'm going to go home for a cup of tea. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please give the video a thumbs up and comment below. I hope you enjoyed the topic. You know, find out what works for you. Of course, get inspiration from other people. But find, you know, if sunsets and sunrises do work for you, for example, that's what you thoroughly enjoy photographing, then go for it. There are no rules, but don't be too influenced by what you feel like is the right thing to be out photographing. You know, nothing's wrong or right. This is a real subjective, you know, endeavor or hobby or career in my case, where I'm very fortunate, and do whatever you want. You know, there are no rules. See you on the next adventure. Out.